Exploring the unknown has always been my passion. I've journeyed across nearly every state, witnessing the breathtaking diversity of landscapes and cultures. My travels often lead me into the wild, backpacking through rugged mountain ranges, winding through national parks, or cruising across vast deserts. Growing up on the East Coast, deserts were unfamiliar territory, which is why I'm drawn to them now. There's something hauntingly beautiful about their emptiness. For years, my desert drives have been peaceful, interrupted only by the profound silence. Nighttime is my favorite, when the sky blazes with stars, casting an eerie glow over the sand. But one evening, the solitude was shattered. I was crossing Arizona's desert as dusk faded into night. Normally, I'd camp under the stars, relishing the isolation. This time, I was alone. No dog, no company. Deciding to push home, I drove deeper into the darkness. Desert roads are unpredictable. Horses, coyotes, they're common sights. But what I saw next wasn't. My headlights caught a figure. Too still, too rigid. A man, motionless, staring at the ground. I stopped, calling out, but he didn't react. His skin was pale, his frame unnaturally thin. When I offered water, his voice was wrong, deep, distorted. Before I could hand it to him, he vanished. Panic set in. Then, movement. A different man, wild-eyed, sprinting toward me with something in hand. More figures emerged from the rocks. I barely escaped. But the worst came when I checked my rear view. The first man was in my back seat, his hollow gaze piercing through me. His smile was a promise of death. I barely made it out alive. Later, a note waited for me. You will be one of us. Even home wasn't safe. They knew where I lived. Some roads are best avoided after dark. The stretch between Salina and Green River in Utah is one of them. 100 miles of nothingness. No gas, no signal, just endless highway under a star-choked sky. I was rushing home when my tire blew. Alone, freezing, I started changing it until I saw him. A towering figure, barely visible in my headlights. He didn't shiver in the cold. Didn't speak at first. Then his voice, wrong, strained, repeated the same question. Do you need help? Footprints led into the darkness, vanishing off the road. I didn't follow. Some mysteries aren't worth solving. Fear has a way of lingering. Some roads, some strangers, they stay with you. And sometimes, the most terrifying thing isn't what you see, but what you barely escape. The desert has a way of playing tricks on the mind. The vast emptiness plays with your senses. Shadows stretch unnaturally. Distant rocks take on human shapes, and the wind sounds like whispers. But what happened to me wasn't an illusion. After that night, I avoided desert roads after dark. But a few weeks later, I found a knot. Her note tucked under my windshield wiper. Just 2 words, still watching. No fingerprints, no trace. The police dismissed it as a prank. Then came the dreams. Every night I'd see them. Those skeletal figures standing just beyond the reach of my headlights, their hollow eyes fixed on me. In the dreams, I'd stop the car, step out, and walk toward them. And every time, just before they reached for me, I'd wake up, drenched in sweat. I started noticing things in the daytime, too. A silhouette at the edge of my property. A figure standing too still beside the highway. Always just out of focus, gone when I looked twice. One evening, I pulled into a gas station near the Utah border. The attendant, an older man with sun-worn skin, studied me as I paid. "You've been driving through the desert at night?" he asked. I hesitated. "Yeah, why?" He shook his head. "Folks see things out there. Some say it's the land playing tricks. Others say it's the ones who got lost, still wandering. He leaned in, voice dropping. But the smart ones, they know better than to stop. I never saw that attendant again. The next time I passed through, the station was boarded up like it had been abandoned for years. Now, I keep my doors locked. I don't pull over for strangers, and when I drive at night, I don't look too long at the figures standing just beyond the headlights. Because sometimes, they look back. The paranoia settled in like a second skin. I stopped driving alone at night, cheat altogether, opting instead for crowded interstates and well-lit truck stops. But the desert has a way of calling you back. Its vast silence, both a warning and an invitation. Last month, against my better judgment, I took the old route through Nevada. The sunset bled into the horizon, painting the sand in shades of rust and gold. I told myself I'd just drive until dawn, no stopping. Then my engine sputtered. The gas gauge needle hovered just above empty. Impossible, since I'd filled up an hour earlier. I pulled over, hands shaking, and reached for my phone. No signal, of course. The desert doesn't like witnesses. That's when I saw the footprints. Fresh ones, leading from the shoulder of the road into the dunes. Not the scuffed marks of a hiker. These were precise, evenly spaced, as if someone had been walking without hesitation. No backtracking, no wandering. Just a straight path into the dark. I followed them. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to prove to myself that the things I'd seen were real, or maybe something deeper, older, was pulling me forward. The tracks stopped abruptly at the base of a rock formation, and there, scratched into the stone, were words. "You should have kept driving." The wind picked up, carrying the faintest sound, like laughter, or maybe just the desert sighing. I ran back to my car, tires spitting sand as I fishtailed onto the highway. The gas gauge read, half filled the entire way home. I don't sleep much these days, and when I do, I dream of open roads and figures standing just beyond the headlights, waiting, always waiting, for me to stop again, because next time, I might not be the one who walks away. The nightmares became so vivid, I started sleeping with the lights on. Every creak of the house, every gust of wind against the windows, sent my heart racing. My therapist called it travel-induced anxiety, but I knew better. The desert remembers. And it wasn't done with me yet. 3 nights ago, I woke to the sound of scratching at my front door. Not the usual wind or tree branches. This was deliberate, slow, methodical. I peered through the peephole to see a figure standing motionless on my porch, its silhouette too tall, too thin. The streetlight behind it cast no shadow. When I blinked, it was gone. But this morning I found something tucked beneath my doormat, a Polaroid photo, faded at the edges. It showed my car parked on that Nevada roadside, driver's door hanging open. In the background, barely visible between the dunes, stood rows of those same impossibly thin figures. The timestamp on the photo? Last night. I'm packing my bags as I write this, not to run, but to return, because I finally understood what that gas station attendant meant. Some roads demand payment for passage, and I think I know what they want. If you don't hear from me again, remember this: when driving through the empty places, never roll down your window. Never answer the voice that sounds almost human, and no matter how lonely the road gets, never stop. The highway stretched before me like a black ribbon under the pale moonlight. My hands trembled on the wheel as I crossed into Nevada again, the desert air humming through my half-open windows. This time, I came prepared. A full tank of gas, 3 spare cans in the trunk, and a pistol on the passenger seat. But some things can't be stopped with bullets. I found the exact spot where my car had died before. The rock formation loomed ahead, its shadow darker than the night around it. This time, the words carved into the stone had changed. "We knew you'd come back." The wind died, The desert held its breath. Then I saw them. Dozens of silhouettes emerging from between the dunes, their elongated limbs moving in unnatural synchronization. They made no sound as they approached, their hollow eyes reflecting my headlights like polished obsidian. The pistol felt useless in my hand. One figure stepped forward, its mouth stretching into that same terrible smile I'd seen in my rearview mirror months before. When it spoke, the voice came from everywhere at once. From the rocks, from the sand, from inside my own skull. You stopped. The last thing I remember is the crunch of gravel beneath my tires as I slammed the accelerator, the figures dissolving like smoke in my rear view mirror. But here's the thing. I don't remember turning the car around. The gas station attendant smiled when I pulled in this morning. "Told you not to stop," he said, sliding a newspaper across the counter. The headline froze my blood. "Missing motorist car found running in desert. Driver's seat empty." The date on the paper? Tomorrow's. I'm writing this from a motel just outside Death Valley. The scratching at my door started an hour ago. I can hear them whispering my name through the walls. They always said the desert was empty. They were wrong. The motel's flickering neon sign cast long shadows across the peeling wallpaper as I press my back against the bathroom door. The scratching has turned to pounding, rhythmic, patient, like they know I have nowhere left to run. My reflection in the medicine cabinet mirror shows a face I barely recognize. Sunken eyes, cracked lips, skin gone sallow from too many nights running from things that shouldn't exist. The pounding stops. For 3 heartbeats, there's only silence. Then the phone rings. That old rotary on the nightstand that hadn't worked since check-in. I know I shouldn't answer. But after the 7th ring, something makes me lift the receiver to my ear. Static. Then a voice I recognize as my own, but distorted, like it's being pulled through miles of desert sand. "You should have looked at the back seat." The line goes dead, just as the bathroom light bulb explodes in a shower of glass. In the sudden darkness, I feel cold fingers brush my neck. I spin around to face an empty room, but the scent of dry earth and gasoline fills the air. The window above the toilet is open now, though I could have sworn it was locked, and drifting through it comes the faint sound of an idling engine. My rental car sits running in the parking lot, driver's door gaping open. The backseat window is rolled down just enough for pale fingers to curl over the edge. They're tapping in time with my racing heartbeat. The motel room door creaks open behind me. I'm not going to turn around. Instead, I'm climbing out the window, because maybe this time I can reach the car before they do. Maybe this time I'll keep driving until the gas gauge really does hit empty. Maybe this time I'll finally be fast enough. But deep down, I know the truth. The desert always wins, and tonight it's coming for what I owe. The moment my feet hit the cracked asphalt of the parking lot, the night air turned thick as oil. My rental car's headlights flickered like a dying heartbeat, casting long shadows that moved wrong, stretching when they should shrink, twisting when they should stay still. The fingers in the back seats stopped tapping. I ran anyway. The driver's seat was ice cold when I slid in, the steering wheel gritty with sand that hadn't been there before. The keys were still in the ignition. The gas gauge read full. A face pressed against the rear VW mirror. Not reflected, but pressed from the other side, warping the glass like a hand against fog. I stomped the accelerator. The tires screamed as the car lurched forward. But the motel didn't get smaller in the mirror. It stretched, its neon sign elongating like taffy, the windows multiplying into 100 identical eyes watching me flee. The road ahead unspooled into darkness. No center line, no markers, just endless blacktop. Then the whispers started. Not from the back seat, not from the desert outside. From the radio. Static hissed, then a voice. "Mine, but not mine," said, "You can't outrun what's already inside the car." The rearview mirror shattered, glass rained down, but the reflection stayed intact, showing me what sat behind me. Not a figure, not a monster, just an empty seat. And the slowly buckling indent of something invisible sitting down. The headlights died. Somewhere in the dark, the engine stopped screaming, and then silence. The kind that comes after a story ends, the kind that means no one is left to tell it. The silence was worse than the screams. I sat frozen in the driver's seat, my breath fogging in the sudden cold. The dashboard lights flickered once, then died, plunging me into perfect darkness. No engine hum, no wind, just the slow rhythmic creak of the back seat settling under unseen weight. The scent of sun-baked earth filled the car. I didn't turn around. I did, and need to. The rearview mirror was gone, but I could feel it watching me. The thing that had been following me across every desert highway, through every nightmare, since the first night I'd made the mistake of stopping. The passenger window fogged over. Letters formed. In the condensation, slow and deliberate, like an invisible finger tracing them. Look, I squeezed my eyes shut. A dry chuckle rasped through the car, not from the back seat, but from beside me, close enough to touch. When I finally opened my eyes, the road ahead was different. Not a desert highway, but a narrow dirt path cutting through dead scrubland. The headlights flickered back on, illuminating a wooden signpost ahead, its arrow pointing straight into the wastes, carved into the bleached wood. Last chance to turn back. The engine roared to life without my hand on the key. The gear shift trembled, sliding into drive on its own. I realized then, this wasn't my escape, it was my delivery. The car began to roll forward, and in the back seat something leaned in close enough that I felt its breath, hot as a desert noon, dry as an open grave, against my ear as it whispered, "Welcome home." The headlights died again. This time, they didn't come back on. The darkness became absolute. I pressed my foot hard on the brake, but the pedal sank uselessly to the floor. The car kept rolling forward, tires crunching over brittle brush as we left the road behind. Cold sweat trickled down my neck as unseen hands adjusted the vents, sending a blast of scorching air across my face. The scent of gasoline and old leather filled my nose. A new sign materialized in the headlights for just a second before vanishing. Mile 0. The radio crackled to life. A weather report from a station that shouldn't exist. Not anymore. Record highs continuing across the region with no relief in sight. Highway Patrol reminds travelers, if your car stops running, do not exit the vehicle. Repeat, do not. Static swallowed the rest. The back seat creaked as the thing shifted its weight. I caught movement in my periphery. A skeletal hand draping itself over the passenger headrest. Fingers too long, knuckles too pronounced. The skin looked stretched, like parchment left too long in the sun. The dashboard lights flickered again, illuminating the odometer for half a heartbeat. The numbers read 999,000. 999. Then they rolled over to zeros. The hand on the headrest twitched. "You kept driving," the thing mused, its voice like sandpaper on sun-bleached bone. "But you never really left." The steering wheel jerked sideways under my hands. The car angled toward a dust-choked ravine that hadn't been there a second ago. Somewhere beyond the windshield, a chorus of dry voices began to whisper. "One of us. One of us. One of us." The seatbelt locked tight across my chest. The headlights winked out, and the car began its final descent. The last thing I saw was the glow of the dashboard clock flickering to life 1. Final time, not numbers but words etched in sickly green light. No exit. Then the impact. Not the crunch of metal or shatter of glass, but the sound of a door slamming shut. When I opened my eyes, the desert stretched endlessly in every direction. The car was gone. The road was gone. Only the whispers remained, carried on the wind that never stops blowing across these wastes. They say you can still hear the engine sometimes, if you stand on the right stretch of highway at the wrong hour of night. They say if you listen closely, you'll recognize the sound, not of a car driving away, but of one arriving, forever circling, forever searching, waiting for the next set of taillights to slow down, waiting for the next driver to make the mistake of stopping. The desert is patient, and now, so am I.